All right, ladies and gentlemen, the H&K SP5. We've done a little bit of shooting today. As you can see, the target's a little bit decorated. But today we're talking about MP5s, and my name is Henry Chan from 9-Hole Reviews.
And I'm Josh.
Welcome to Midway USA. Today, let's journey you down the saga of the MP5. And once upon a time, these things, MP5 derivations, were quite the status symbol to flex on the range. And by flexing, I mean showing up on the range and seeing the silhouette of this thing.
Well, so much so that many people don't realize that nowadays, as of the last, what would you say, maybe 5 to 8 years?
It's honestly around the COVID timeframe and onwards, these things became quite prolific.
Much more accessible in the civilian US marketplace. And that's due in no small part due to, well, not H&K putting out options to drive the price down on some of these items.
Well, we'll get to that because it's sort of a combination.
Not H&K.
The initial availability of MP5 and MP5 clones were, of course, not of the SP5. The SP5 is a fairly new development. It's actually the HK94s and the SP89s. And those were the ban era MP5s that had no tri-lug in the front, had no threaded barrels in the front, and also did not have the paddle mag release. And so if you were to watch the Christmas documentary of the 90s, Mr. Willis with his MP5 was actually not an MP5. If you look closely at the diehard MP5s, they had no tri-lugs because those were converted from ban era MP5s. And for a long time, that was the only thing in the game outside of real MP5s that SWAT units and police units had. But I would say, sort of coming in the 2010s era, ATI started bringing in MKE Turkish-made licensed copies MP5s, this is a Century AP5, so same manufacturer, but MKE, essentially using licensed tooling and machines, made MP5s and made them accessible to the American public a little bit. Interesting thing, they all came with a paddle mag release already, and these are 2-pin MP5s.
Very shootable.
Yeah, and
Shoots
so
like an MP5.
so even like longtime AR-15 enjoyers like Josh ended up picking up an MP5. But why did you, for you, what was the journey for you getting into the MP5s though?
I think at first I didn't necessarily see the rationale behind getting one because I was very much like AR is the way to go. It works, it's super easy to shoot, it's very intuitive, it's very prolific here. There are ample amounts of parts and manufacturers for it, and none of those things are untrue. But for me, getting a little like subgun style setup, as opposed to say a full-on like AR9 PCC or even a 5.56 AR, even a short one, this just fills a bit of a different niche. It's so light, it's so compact, and frankly, it's so shootable. It's just so easy to shoot, also suppressible, etc. Frankly, also the price made sense in and when I started looking at these, whereas I would have never dropped $2,500, $3,000. How much would they go for back in the day?
North of that.
Okay.
North of that. Like $5,000.
$5,000.
Yeah.
I would never have done that on something that was not, like I couldn't foresee myself doing that.
Yeah.
And so this fell into a bucket where, I mean, I think we found these for what, sub 1,500, right?
Yeah, so well sub 1,500. So yeah, back then, prior to these things being imported, either you got an SP89 or an HK94 and converted those into a non-band specific time MP5s, or you would get an MP5 parts kit and you would have a builder build it out with a flat that they had to press into the receiver and put everything on, weld the trunnions on, press the barrel in, and all of that. It's more involved than building an AK actually.
Wow.
And so these things appearing in the market for the price of, honestly, the parts kits, that really started it. Now this is a Century AP5. The MKEs have had a journey going from ATI to Zenith imports and now through Century imports. There are allegedly different eras of quality control.
As is the case with several Century products.
And the part of it is, you know, it depends on who the importer is and what they would accept to push out. But with the quality control, more or less, you also had the price point reflect the quality control that was put into it. So these coming into the country nowadays, you have to have you want to have a certain degree of either leniency in learning the system as you work through potential quality issues. I have not had any real quality issues with my MKEs, my recent MKE imports, but allegedly some people had to switch out quite a bit of H&K parts into them to get the reliability.
And that is something which, if you guys are interested in watching, Henry actually did a full sort of like breakdown overhaul on this particular MKE actually, where although we weren't having reliability issues with it, you went through and put in some German parts into this as sort of like a
preventative
measure, right?
But so the MKEs were imports though. I think the other step that we started seeing in the American market came down to domestic manufactured MP5s. Because before PTR released their PTR9, really the only domestic manufactured game in there was like Bobcat or Vector. And those manufacturers did not have at all a good reputation of those MP5 clones running. But when the PTR9 came about, that changed the story quite a bit because, of course, our PTR9 has been a main demo subgun for us. And it absolutely runs. And quite frankly, I actually think this thing shoots a little bit softer than my H&Ks. And nothing against the H&K, you know. Bolt speed also comes with potential reliability. It's a balance between reliability and shootability, right? While they are a pretty decent copy of it, they also had an era of QC inflection that you really ought to look at before you get into it. However, PTR does come with a domestic manufacturer warranty, so you have the option of sending it back to have PTR fix the PTR systems as you need it. As we see PTR getting into the MP5 game, that was another step because now we secure domestic manufacturing of a pretty reliable domestic MP5 clone. And so then it goes full circle back to the H&Ks. Now this is an SP5K. What you saw earlier right here was an SP5, so the full size. And this really, to H&K enthusiasts, this is kind of a Christmas miracle because we didn't expect anything to come out of the German market at this point.
Oh, it's because, HK hates us, clearly.
It's because of the export laws being so incredibly stringent compared to, let's say, Turkey. And so the one feature right here is this paddle mag release. No one ever expected that to come out of Germany, but it did. And so you had, of course, das Original.
Ah, yes, the classic configuration. Nice.
Of all of these subguns, my H&Ks run the smoothest. And you'll see a lot of times running the H&Ks, those are the ones that I have the least amount of doubt on whether it would run or not. Not that I have any doubt on the other ones running or not, but as the original manufacturer from the very get-go, having the least amount of doubt and having the most confident in your system, I think is something that is very difficult to put a price on, but they can put a price on that, obviously, because these can easily cost 2 or 3 times the base, the MKE base MP5 clone variety.
Right. Now, let's not get it mistaken. Once you configure one of these things built out like this, this becomes incredibly expensive.
Yes.
I think if you're looking for like an economic solution or alternative, the MP5 world is probably not the place to play.
So the MP5, one of the beauties of the MP5 though, is that you could slick it down, strip it all the way down, and it would still be like, I would say like 85% effective as something like that. Like you could just put a light on this, and within the 25-meter zone, you could get comparable results. Not the same with a red dot, obviously, but still very compact package that you could send out.
Yeah. Yep.
But I think that flexibility is something, that modularity is something that the MP5 system provides. But all of these are SBRs here. There is also an option of using a brace and keeping them in pistol form.
Right, because I think one of the main, I would say one of the main barriers to entry on these, aside from the price point and perhaps some of the familiarity concerns, which we can talk about in just a second, is the fact that it requires a stamp if you want to do it like this, or if you're going to use one of these, you need double stamp, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I know that some people are extremely averse to that stuff, and there's no, like, that's perfectly reasonable if that's not your jam. So to Henry's point, braces are, I think, back on the menu, right?
Yeah,
braces are back on the menu
for now. But I mean, that said, I'm just throwing it back to the fact that MP5s as a base system, because it is, at the end of the day, it's a push pin design to where you can push pins and adjust, basically put things on and off, take things on and off without any type of tools.
I think that that's a fair thing to talk about that not many people consider, because at least, again, for me, coming from the AR world, I think AR being maximally modular is one of the highest levels of value. And when I looked at an MP5, I would never have gone, oh, that's a really modular system. And Henry sort of educated me over the years on how easy it is to swap out components. It works a little bit different than how you might consider modularity on an AR platform, but you absolutely can still swap pieces out, swap the lowers out, swap the trigger packs out, the stock components, the handguard components, the optic mounts, all of that stuff is basically bolt off and on pins in and out, right?
And I think one thing to really throw back on with this topic is the fact that the last, I would say even like 3 years, more so than the 5 years, we've had an explosion in aftermarket parts for the MP5 series. And so that explosion of the MP5 parts combined with legacy components like this gives the end user a flexibility of kitting these things out according to an MP5 that was from different eras. Because of course this is like a mid-2000s era European looking MP5. That is a full-on 2024 M-locked out in the front with an updated T2. And then just back here we had some more like 90s eras MP5s.
Yep. All right, Henry, so in the last minute or two here, one of the barriers to entry, at least for me, was a familiarity problem with the operating system, right? In terms of actual, like, weapons handling.
Okay, so
that was it. That was something that was daunting to me, because it's like, you've got
the charging handle, right?
Paddle,
so it's one of the things.
Safety.
So yeah, okay, let's go through the very, very basics on the operation of things before we get into it. So obviously you have your safety. This one uses an ambi safety. That's an SCF type of safety. But the big thing that people, specifically AR shooters, run into comes down to the reloading process. Because unlike G3s, unlike HK33s, you actually have a process that you have to go through in locking your charging handle back to reload. Okay, so the way they teach these in schoolhouses is when you run dry, so let's look at the 25-yard target. I've gone dry.
You gotta click.
You gotta click. You pull the charging handle and you use the verbal command back. And when you pull it back, you lock it up. Out, you draw your magazine and throw it out. In, you insert your new magazine, and forward. You put the bolt back forward. And so that is the 4-step process of reloading an MP5. And now this is a hot MP5. I've kind of modified this a little bit myself. This is not what they teach in the schoolhouse. A lot of times I like to booger hook the charging handle. Right. To me, that's just more intuitive, easier for me to kind of motorcycle handle, grab it.
So this way,
Yes.
over the top, back.
Yes. Now, in the schoolhouse, they would teach you to use the back of your hand and give yourself a backwards high five to palm your charging handle up.
So instead of over the top, coming from here up like
Yep.
this. So you're basically grabbing it with your pinky or the inside of your palm.
Correct. So you grab it with the downside of your palm and pull it back like
Okay,
that.
so all the way into
And-
like the crease in your palm.
Correct. And the reason for that, you'll notice, especially using these old school optic mounts, the claw mounts, you'll realize there's not a lot of clearance right here. So sometimes if you run it like a motorcycle grip, which I do, it's just sometimes it's more comfortable. Sometimes if you do slip,
Sometimes
you end up
it's less comfortable.
yeah, you end up busting your knuckle on that little piece. And so you'll actually see some claw mounts with the front actually cut down for that particular reason, to give it more clearance. Now, this is less of an issue on a full size, because at least a full size you have a little bit of space to work with.
Yeah.
More so an issue with those Ks right there.
Because that overhang is basically on top of the charging handle.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
So you really have to be underneath it. But that's part of the reason that we use this modern MFI mount instead of the claw mount, so that I still can be in this position and either come up like this or come up like this and
Correct.
still be effective in being able to lock open the bolt.
Now, one thing that people could consider, with the modern mounts, they bolt on. With the older mounts, these claw mounts, you could just remove it if you wanted a lighter system. I still have very good iron sights front and back. I still have my light right here. And on the top, I am completely clear, so I can use whatever method I want to operate the MP5. And so that's actually one thing that the MP5, again, drawing back to the modularity concept, you could build it up, you could swap optics, you could drop it back down slick as you needed to whatever you want to do with the MP5. So,
Yeah. One thing that I would say here, like having picked up this platform, having shot tons of PCC 9mm in my competition days, I find that even for me, like one of the hardest parts about working this, unironically, is the safety. My thumb like just doesn't quite reach when I have a full firing grip. And the safeties on these, especially when I got it fresh, was very, very stiff. So I found that I had to really like almost sit there and wear this in, wearing it into the side of the receiver in order, or the grip module, I suppose, in order to get it smoothed out so that I could sort of still snap it off.
now I would say, Josh, my thought on that, and there's nothing wrong with the old school SEF grip. Josh is leaving his old school SEF grip, but this is the newer ambi grip.
This also has the extended paddle, right?
You can get extended safeties for those. Magpul makes one, but here.
Yes. Huge
Oh,
difference,
yeah.
right? So something to consider depending upon which variant you potentially pick up, right?
Yeah.
The
Now-
other thing that I would say, just in closing here, from a shootability perspective, these things are like pop guns. If you haven't shot an MP5 before, it doesn't feel like.
It feels like you have a squib
Yeah.
compared to an AR9.
It's very different than the direct blowback AR. The direct blowback nature of the AR9s. It feels nothing like shooting almost any other firearm that I've shot. I can't really put other than other roller delayed guns.
Yeah.
Right. And it's the recoil impulse is so low. They are just exceptionally shootable. It's so easy to just be able to.
Now notice that Josh put a half-loaded magazine in there
I still actually have a round in here.
and did not lock the.
Oh my goodness! No, I violated all the rules.
But I
listened
mean,
to
look,
nothing.
that's like obviously Josh knows that he put a
I listened
half-loaded
to
magazine
nothing.
in there. It's no big deal. Go ahead.
Back, out, in, forward. Did I do it?
There you
My
go, yeah.
commands might have been
That's
wrong.
it. So that's it. I mean, again, you know that you're not like when you go to the range. Typically, you don't go in like you call out the commands as you do that, right? That's just a training tool that you use for the schoolhouse guys to teach you.
Cool. Well, look, if you guys are interested in MP5s, Henry has spent the better half of, I don't know, the last couple years becoming a nerd when it comes to the MP5 platform. So feel free to check out the 9-Hole channel, where we have a number of videos profiling the MP5, including full detailed classic documentaries and a number of shooting videos as well. And until next time, see you on the range.
716 is Steel 96, 4 Vic, 8 Pax, Redcon 1, green to green. How copy, over?
Steel 96, this